Hi everyone, I'm Battalion Chief Don Nelson with the Summit Fire Department. Welcome to another episode of With Summit Fire. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're actually doing an interview. We've had you out at rescue training down in Newark. We had you at live burn up in Morris County, and we did a couple other episodes of action-orientated stuff. But today we're going to do an interview with Battalion Chief Rick Locke. So Rick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Don. Great to be here.
I know this is probably not your first time on TV because you were just telling me you did an interview for the Infinity Fire over on Franklin Place. So you look a little too relaxed. You're making me nervous. You look a little too relaxed. How long have you been a fireman here in the fire department?
I've been started as a volunteer in 1982.
Wow.
And I got on the career division in 1986.
So tell us a little bit about your, well, let me back up a little bit. You're born in Summit, correct?
Correct.
And did you go through the school system?
Up through middle school, or what's now middle school. We called it junior high back then.
Aha.
And then I went to Morristown Baird School.
So you are a Summit native?
Yes.
Excellent. Good to hear that.
Born and raised.
Good. And tell us a little bit about your wife. Isn't she related to somebody who retired from the fire department?
Yes. Both her brother and her father before her was a volunteer. So she had a long time history of the fire in her family.
Now her brother was a battalion,
Yes,
is a
Mike
retired
Barber.
battalion chief. Yeah. Good guy. We miss him a lot. Kids?
4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl.
Thought I had it bad. Well, I got one more.
You got one more.
I
You
got
beat me by
you beat.
one.
But how many in college?
2.
Wow, how's that going?
That's going great.
And where do they go?
One goes to Arcadia University outside of Philadelphia, and the other one goes to NJIT in Newark.
Wow, so you're all over the place. Big bucks too, huh?
Depends on the moment.
And how young is your youngest one?
15.
Wow, so you're almost there. You're almost an empty nester.
We'll
A few
see.
more years.
Yep.
Good.
I hope.
So before you became a career guy, I understand you were associated with the Summit Volunteer First Aid Squad. Tell us a little bit about that. Oh, you are.
So I joined when I was 16. So it's well over 30 years of member of the First Aid Squad.
So you're an EMT.
I was. It had recently expired,
Ah.
but they have a different category of membership for non-riding members, so I'm in that category at this
Are
point.
you a life member?
Yeah, long time ago.
Excellent. Good. So you get to go to the Christmas party every year.
Yes.
That's nice. Did you go over and watch the First Aid Squad building being torn down?
A little bit. To me, it's just a building.
Wow.
You know, it's the people are what makes that organization.
Absolutely.
And so, other than that, it's a garage.
Yeah.
And so that they're going to get a new one, I see that as a good thing.
Yes.
That building has had a number of the roof has always leaked as far as I knew it. So they'll finally be addressing that. So that's a good thing for them.
Yeah, I was dropping my daughter off at the middle school the other day, and a couple members were sitting on the sidewalk watching the demolition, and I thought they were going to cry.
Some of them are. They have a little more tie into the bricks.
Yeah.
To me, it's literally just that. It's bricks. Again, it's the people that make that organization
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
So,
back to your volunteer time here at the fire department. What made you become a volunteer?
I always loved the fire service. My earliest memory of coming here was with my sister's Brownie troop. And so I came here as a very young lad. The 68 building was just recently occupied with the big glass doors. The pole was not installed yet, things like that. And so we were getting kind of a tour of the firehouse, and it was kind of neat. And then they had a call while I was there, and they all went out the door. And it just stuck with me.
Wow.
I just wanted to do that.
Yeah, my own personal experience, I never really ventured over to this part of town. Maybe Larry's Bicycle Shop, which used to be across the street, but other than that, but my friend's father turned me on to the fire department, so it was interesting. Family, friends turned us on to it. So, when you were a volunteer, were there any incidents that stuck out in your mind that was a deciding factor for you to want to be a fireman?
I think I've always wanted to. Okay. Probably the most memorable incident when I was a volunteer was the Masco's fire, and that was turned into an all-day, all-night, all-day again incident. And so that was probably the largest fire of note. That and the pet shop fire was also when I was a volunteer.
So you became a volunteer in 1982? When did you become a career guy?
1986.
Oh, good. Same year I started.
Yes.
Excellent. How was that? What was the I can't say the word.
Transition.
Well, transition. Thank you. From volunteer to career. How was that? How was that?
It was a little different. I started as a dispatcher.
Okay.
And then for about a year and a half, then I went into the Fire Prevention Bureau as an inspector. That was probably the hardest thing to deal with because that was a side of firefighting I had never really been exposed to before. And then from there, I was transferred out of the bureau and then went to the line from there. But the biggest thing to take away is you don't know what you don't know until you go from volunteer to career. I thought I knew what I was all about, having been at training and all that. And once I actually was a career firefighter, I truly didn't even know what I didn't know. And so it's been learning ever since. Every day I come here, I learn something new.
Good. Well, firefighting is an ongoing educational experience. Every day we see something different, so it's good to hear that. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. So you became a firefighter in 1986. How long before you were promoted?
2001.
So you became a lieutenant in 2001.
2001.
Everyone says that's the biggest transition, I said it right this time, from firefighter to officer, because you actually, lieutenant's a little bit of a unique position, as you know. You're kind of, you're one of the guys, but you're not one of the guys, because now you're their supervisor, and that takes on a whole different meaning. How did you handle that?
It really didn't seem that hard to me, because I even as a fireman, I was concerned about the operations, what things. Again, was always learning. I was always concerned to make sure I took care of myself and the people around me and things like. So it just made it more formalized.
Right.
The best part about being promoted lieutenant is you get to go on every call, and that's why we all took this job all those years ago. So to be able to go on that many more calls, that's the best part about being a lieutenant. As a battalion chief, I don't get to go on as many calls.
Right. Well, don't talk about that yet. We're going to talk about that next. As a lieutenant, do you remember your first fire where you were in charge by yourself?
Yes, but I wasn't by myself long.
Okay.
But it was a fire down on Arden Place, where it came in as a burglar alarm of all things, and then it rapidly, when the police got on scene, they realized that the alarm went off from a fire.
Okay.
So it was a pretty advanced fire by the time we got there. But the deputy chief arrived on scene within a minute after me, so I wasn't alone by myself.
So you had a little bit of chance to be in charge, little bit of time to be in charge, and then the big shots came over and took over. So that's, would you have rather, and maybe I shouldn't ask you this, but I'll ask you anyway, would you have rather remained in charge yourself, or were you glad to see somebody take over for you?
I would have been happy to stay outside, but the other side of me was very happy to go inside and
that's
deal
what I
with
was
the
leading
incident.
to.
Correct.
We all want to be inside. Believe it or not, in our positions, it's very hard for us to stay outside.
Yes.
Some of us have to be chained to the command post, so to speak, and it's hard for us to stay outside because we're action-oriented people. We want to be in the action, so we run the action from the outside. So that's good. I know there was a part of your career where you ended up back in the Fire Prevention Bureau. Can you refresh my memory on that?
Sure. When I got promoted to lieutenant, I was transferred back to the Fire Prevention Bureau. I was designated as the fire official or fire marshal for the city.
And what does that mean?
That means you're responsible for all of the fire prevention activities that happen in the city of Summit, and you're responsible to make sure that the fire code is enforced properly.
And that's usually a very rough spot in municipalities, is enforcing the fire code, because everybody thinks we're trying to squash progress or
the biggest part of it is the education of people as to why the fire code exists. So the state of New Jersey, years and years ago, it's more of a reactive fire code than a proactive.
Correct.
And then they've been changing it over the years, actually, based on major incidents that have happened.
Great Adventure was a
Great Adventure
example.
was one, and even fires that didn't happen in New Jersey. So when the Station nightclub fire in Providence, Rhode Island happened, they made changes to nightclubs in New Jersey based off of that incident. Similar with the Seton Hall fire, they mandated sprinklers for college dormitories and things like that. So trying to explain to people why their building that they haven't touched for 50 years is no longer compliant with the code, they're not happy about that. But if you truly explain to them the why, the education that goes with it, most of them at least understand it.
Correct.
They might still not be happy with it, but they at least understand the why.
Good.
And so that was a major aspect, a major change, is to explain to the people why the fire code changed and why they now need to make changes to their buildings.
It's a very tough, even today, it's a very difficult subject when we go out, when the guys go out and do inspections, and people are asking us, why do we have to have fire sprinklers, or why the exits have to be so, open, and all this kind of stuff. It's the educational part is the most important part, and the public needs to understand that those codes are in place for their safety as well as ours.
That's correct.
Because we're the ones that are going into the buildings when it's on fire, so that's important to remember. Any things stand out from your time in fire prevention as other than the fire official part? Any good things stand out? There
was a number of things that I got exposed to. So I became heavily involved in the fire safety committee at Overlook Hospital because I was the fire marshal. And so I would sit in and hear things that were happening up there and give the fire aspect side of it. So when they were looking to branch out into getting more equipment for how to deal with weapons of mass destruction or chemical warfare or any of that other things, they were trying to figure out some items of what to purchase and all, and they had people that might have been knowledgeable in many other fields, but they were starting to buy equipment that was not compatible with our equipment. And so we kind of explained to them that was not a good idea, because you really need to make sure that it's compatible with what we have so that we can assist you, or if yours breaks, we can hook ours into the components and they are compatible.
We used to, correct me if I'm wrong, we used to go there a lot on false alarms.
Correct.
Burnt popcorn, things like that, because the nurses have to eat too. You were kind of instrumental in getting that.
They actually had a number of not even just that malfunctions, because the system was old at that point. And so yes, we were able to, working with them, they were able to secure the funding, which was a sizable amount of money.
A big building.
To replace the fire alarm system. And so that reduced it down to probably only about 5 to 10% of our calls up there are true malfunctions. The rest are, there's a legitimate reason for us being there.
Yeah.
So, and that, we went from 5 or 6 responses a week to 5 or 6 a month now.
Yeah. So you became a career firefighter in '82. Got promoted in 2001.
Yes.
When did you get promoted as battalion chief? I'm putting you on the spot. Dates are tough.
The dates are tough. I believe it was about 2008.
Okay.
And that's a guess.
And that's an even bigger transition, because now you definitely are part of the administrative side of the department, and you're no longer one of the guys. Where a lieutenant, you might still be there, but when you're a battalion chief, it's kind of a different realm.
Yeah, the moment you put on a white, everybody looks at you different.
Absolutely. Kind of scares me.
Yes. So
we're supposed to know what to do. Luckily, most of the time we do.
Most of the time we do, and the amazing part is how much more we know than they know, because we've been doing it longer.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So exactly what does a battalion chief do?
Okay. The battalion chief is in charge of the shift, and so we have 4 shifts. We're essentially responsible for everything that happens or doesn't happen on that shift. We're also responsible for all the equipment that's in the building. We're responsible for any incidents that are happening in town, and trying to keep touch with everything that's happening in the town. So today there's some road construction that's happening. We need to be aware of that. I need to make sure that the drivers of the fire apparatus know about it, and they're going to plan accordingly. And I need to make sure that everybody's trained, the equipment is ready to go.
And of course you have the help of the lieutenant to do that.
Correct.
And like today, for instance, and you're on duty today, so you're taking time away from the shift to do this, and I appreciate that. Today you had to go down and take care of the City Safety Day with the Department of Community Programs.
Correct.
So there's always something popping up.
We participated in their training, but we also brought, because of the heat of the day, we brought down some of our cooling equipment to keep everybody who was there a little bit safer.
Just so the audience knows, today's probably the hottest day.
It's about 90 plus degrees
and we decided
right
to do the interview in the engine room bay with the doors open. So if it's a little noisy, we apologize.
At least I'm not wearing turnout gear. That's okay.
That's a plus. That's a plus. So now you're a battalion chief. You have the operational end of your responsibility, and I know you also have staff responsibilities. Could you explain to us what staff responsibilities you have?
Certainly. Mine is essentially anything that deals with technology. So I'm in charge of the computers, I'm in charge of radios, and I'm in charge of the telecommunications, which is a fancier word for the phones and the dispatchers. So in the city of Summit, if you dial 911, you actually get the fire department first.
Correct. Very unique
because
in New
we're
Jersey.
the answering point for 911, and then depending on what it is you're requesting, we transfer you off. So if you're on the highway, we transfer you to the state police. If you're looking for the police department, we transfer to Summit Police. And if you're looking for the fire trucks or an ambulance, we keep it ourselves and we dispatch those 2 agencies.
Now there's a merger, so to speak, going on between Summit, New Providence, and Milburn for a joint dispatch center. Now the name of that center
The name is
escapes
still
me.
up in limbo.
Okay, that's
so
why
it
it
doesn't
escapes
have
me.
one.
But that's probably taken up a lot of your time along with the chiefs from the other
Yeah,
towns.
there's a lot of making sure that everything that we do now is going to transfer to this new center, because there's little things that we've been doing it for so long that we're not thinking about what it is that needs to go out to New Providence. So there's
it's all new for us.
it's all new. So we have right now our dispatcher controls building components like the overhead doors and the lights and things. Those aren't going to go. So now we're trying to figure out how we're going to handle those sorts of things. Business phones as opposed to emergency phones, where are those going to ring?
Yep.
And again, we're going to be going from having somebody in the fire station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to
manning the phones.
Manning the phones, or just answering the door. If we're out on an emergency call, there's going to be nobody behind, and that's going to be a major change.
Big change for us. I'm going to put you on the spot because I'll be honest with you, I don't remember the name of the new program, but they're doing away with the Code Red. Do you remember what the new one is? Because I don't.
No, I only heard it this morning.
Me too.
So I do know that it is available on the city's website. So if you go to the city's website, you'll be able to see the new icon that was Code Red, is now going to this new system by the end of this month.
Isn't it Swift? Besides the phone, besides the 911 center, you also you take care of all the radios.
Yes.
And we've gone. I know I'm not going to make you go through the whole process, but just real quick in a nutshell. We just changed radios about, a year and a half ago, portables and mobiles. And from experience, that was a headache. You did a great job taking care of that.
Thank you.
I know there was a lot of things going on where guys couldn't transmit or receive from certain parts, mostly the highway on 78 out by Glenside, different parts in town. You got the radio companies back here. They found a very simple. Well, I shouldn't say simple. They found the problem, and
well,
now
they found a problem. They're still checking, believe it or not.
Okay.
So it's an ongoing thing. But as with any new technology, there's that whole rollout things. But it was replacing a radio system that hadn't been touched in about 20 years.
Wow.
So it was quite antiquated, and key components were breaking. So we had to go with something new, and the federal government forced us to make changes with what they called narrowbanding, which was a change in our frequency.
Right.
And so they're trying to push people away from the frequency that we're on anyway, so we had to make this major change with all new equipment. Then, yes, we had some wiring that got nicked during the installation, which wasn't caught right away, and so it slowly degraded until to the point where it was not what it should have been.
So something as simple as a radio installer nicking a wire can create all kinds of havoc with our radio. And I shouldn't say havoc, that's a big word. Can create some problems.
It could, and we're pretty sure at this point it was not the radio installer, it was another contractor working in the vicinity.
Not trying to get anybody in trouble.
No. who not knowing what what that wire was for, he made a cut into it, and it made it so that it was no longer functioning properly.
So bottom line is now the radios are working much better.
Yes.
Which is great.
It is very much our lifeline. Without
Absolutely.
radios, we need to be able to talk to each other
Yep.
to let us know what's happening. So if as the incident commander, as a battalion chief on the outside of the building, if I see something, I got to let the guys inside know, and vice versa. If they see something that I don't, we have to communicate so that we can take care of ourselves.
Yep. And that gets back to us wanting to be inside. We're the most key. I shouldn't say most. We're very key to the whole operation because we're outside controlling everything.
Yes.
And we got to make sure we can communicate. So we've got you all the way through battalion. So you're on 28 years now?
Yes.
So it's a long career, long time here. What's the best part of being a member of the Summit Fire Department?
Well, that's not as hard as you would think. To me, I love giving back to the community that I grew up in.
Where do you live now?
I live in Springfield, just over the line. And only because the city of Summit got unaffordable, for lack of a better word. But not that my heart isn't here. My wife and I both grew up in Summit.
Yes, you did.
And so we love it. It's a beautiful town. And it's nice to be able to give back to the community that helped raise me. And so I just know the town well, and that is a plus.
Good. Now, as a battalion chief, can you think of the first fire that you were in charge of? I know there's been a lot.
Ashwood Avenue. Yes.
Ashwood Avenue.
About 2 years ago. In the wintertime.
Yep.
It was a cold day. I do remember that.
I remember that.
That was the very first one as a battalion chief.
Yeah, that was a very interesting fire. I was off duty and I came down because we were my wife and I were out, so I didn't want to come into work because of my activities. But we drove by and it was pretty hectic.
Yes.
So I think the public needs to understand that as the incident commanders of a call, we have a lot of things going on. You know, the safety of the public that we're there to protect, the safety of our firefighters, making sure we have enough resources coming in, managing those resources properly, not overtaxing other towns or our own resources. So we have a lot going on.
And trying to anticipate what the fire is going to do next.
Yeah, that's the big part.
And that's the hardest part.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I honestly haven't gone that far yet. Unfortunately, with what's happening in Trenton, I can't guarantee. I would love to still be here, but I can't guarantee that because we've become almost public enemies to some people. It is what it is. I understand that things need to change. But I'm not so sure that there's going to come a time where you're going to lose most of the people with the extensive institutional knowledge all at once, instead of slowly over the time.
Well, I think there's 8 of us that are eligible.
That are eligible.
And of those 8, I think 1, 2, 3, 4,
most
5.
Are officers.
Most are officers. So
Correct.
there could be a big change here.
Yes.
If you had to do it over again, would you still be a firefighter?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I love what I do.
It is the best job in the world. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
I know you're busy today. You're working, so you have a lot of stuff going on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down with us and talk about
anytime
some good things. And as always, thanks.
All right.
And thanks for viewing. And stand by for our public safety announcement for the new emergency alert system. Hi, Battalion Chief Don Nelson again, host of With Summit Fire. Just a little public service announcement to remind all citizens of Summit that the City of Summit is doing away with the code red, and we're switching over to what's called Swift Reach. Sign up is available on the city website. There should be a menu for you to follow on the city website, and you can start signing up as of Thursday, June 19th. So just be aware again that code red will no longer be active, and we are switching over to a new provider called Swift Reach, and sign up is available through the City of Summit website. Okay, if you have any questions, you can call the Summit Fire Department 277-1033 or the Summit Police Department 273-0051. All right, just remember again, code red no longer available, and we're switching over to Swift Reach, available through the city website.